You know what I was wondering today too? I was
What's that?
shoveling a little bit of snow. We didn't really have much, but I was salting off some properties. And I was thinking, I don't know if I've seen, and maybe you've seen, I've never seen someone speaking Spanish in Star Wars.
You know, right now, like, they're like two best actors that they've got for their series is Diego Luna. Freaking,
And Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
But nobody speaks Spanish.
Well, why would they?
But that's what I'm wondering. It's Star Wars universe, but okay, so you have English and then some alien languages. No other earthly language exists. Am I wrong?
I guess. I mean, have we ever seen any other
I couldn't think of one.
Speak other languages?
I can't think of one.
Recall.
I could think of different accents.
Well, I mean, you know, Mando, he spoke Jawa, or Jawanese, I think. You remember?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's not that's not another earthly language.
No, but I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. So everyone speaks English.
If you speak an earthly language in Star Wars, it's English.
Damn right, dude.
So that's what happened is the Earth Federation, like Star Trek, this bitch.
Star Trek.
They adopted English as the Earth's official language.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Or we're just seeing it through through the lens of those characters, even though they're speaking a different language, it's foreign to us, but it's only translated in English that we're receiving it. I don't know if you can wrap your mind around that.
Except they give us.
So we can understand the context.
Except they give us subtitles with the Wookiees, and no subtitles with the robots.
Alright, you got me.
It's confused. I just thought about it today.
Did they ever do that?
And I was racking my brain. Yeah, I don't think Abigail gets pissed off because they won't translate the robots. But sometimes they'll translate the Wookiees, but not often, especially when it's Chewbacca. But other stuff will get translated.
Talking, how everyone just completely understands what the robots are saying.
I know, I don't get that either, but some of them, and then some of them don't.
Yeah. Well, what was
that's never explained.
Like, the Mandalorian. What was it, that episode when they were on the ice planet? He couldn't understand what that frog type character was saying. So I think it's the first time they've done that where like something couldn't be translated, between two different species.
Right, but
that I can recall. I'm not saying it hasn't been done before.
Just needed a C-3PO.
I know, dude. Cyborg relations.
What is he? It's dude. I used to remember this. 64. I swear it's like 64 something billion languages or something that he understands and comprehends.
Right now, I mean, if I need to spot check.
We need to fact check this, or we're gonna get. If I put this up on YouTube, we'll get taken down. Inaccurate Star Wars information. Just kidding, YouTube.
He says, I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication.
Oh, I was way off by like 62 million or billion. No, yeah, way more than that.
But he can speak 6 million different languages, apparently.
Oh, I thought it was like 62 for some reason. You would think 6 million languages. That means if you think about like how big the galaxy is.
They got a lot of bases covered.
Well, I don't know, because the galaxy's really, really big. You probably don't know anything. That's probably very minuscule.
Could be.
What would you think? Okay, just in the Star Wars universe, if you had to make a safe guess, you've probably heard... Well, I guess you probably only heard like 10 languages.
Well, here's the thing, though, with Star Wars, okay? So that galaxy, obviously, is very fruitful with life everywhere in that galaxy. It's just teeming. Okay, we can't guarantee that our galaxy is teeming with like extraterrestrial life. So that's why it says in a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
Maybe our galaxy just doesn't have as much life as that one does.
Also, a long, long time ago. But it only says a long time ago, not a long, long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah, that's true.
I always say
how long ago though? Sometimes I've always wondered that.
I know. It's like 100,000 parsecs ago.
But I think they use parsecs to measure just like speed.
But
I think a parsec is like a measurement of time.
But didn't they also say? I thought someone came up with the idea that it was also a unit of measurement, like
okay, here we go.
distance.
I'm gonna turn to the Google machine.
But it's funny because I don't think they really even know themselves.
Yeah, I think it was just a word that was used that George Lucas was like, I like that word.
I like it. Say parsec again. What was that word you said? Partet?
So, in Star Wars, apparently a parsec represents 3.26 light years.
3.26 light years?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a unit.
3.26 light years.
It's a unit of distance.
Yeah. Because I'm always confused when Han Solo claimed that, the Millennium Falcon made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Because that would be time, right?
It's time and distance because even in our language and on Earth, when we talk about light years, it's both a distance and a time frame. Right? Because they say it'd take us what is it? I think it's 8 light minutes to get to the sun.
So I was reading a little bit more. So parsec it's a unit of distance, correct? Okay, but it's referring to when he's talking about he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. It's because he was able to skirt the nearby Maw black hole cluster, thus making the run in under the standard distance. That's what it was. That's why he was able to do it so quickly.
Under the standard
so it
distance.
Wasn't time. It was.
Well, technically, if we want to get technical, the only explanations I've heard for like the warp speed or the what they call it light speed here is they're bending space around them, so they're not moving.
Are you talking about like an event horizon where they fold space?
Yes. So that's the explanation for being able to go that fast. Yes. So if that's the explanation for them being able to go that fast, then I guess it stands to reason that whoever bends space the most and makes it the shortest distance
have they ever explained
is the winner.
Star Wars?
No. And I would actually be very sad if they did, I think.
Yeah.
Because it would be kind of annoying. Like, it's kind of weird this way, but I think it's funny and amusing that it's ambiguous.
Yeah. It was ambiguous until I think people started really, looking into it.
It's like, does Yoda speak the way he does because of his species? Or did his family just talk that way and teach him that? Or is that his attempt to speak the obviously universal galactic language of English? You know how people speak broken English? That's a good question. Good question, that is. Hold on.
Part of it feels like it's his species.
What's going on,
Ayoka?
Yeah, what do I know? What does anybody know?
I don't know, man.
Did you hear? So there's a rumor about something that's not a rumor. So they're obviously doing. So they want to do. I don't know if it's gonna be a movie or a TV series, but they want to do it after the sequel trilogy. So after
the sequel trilogy.
After Rise of Skywalker. It's going to take place after.
Okay.
It's going to be like animated, but not like the Clone Wars, like almost as realistic as they can get. But Daisy Ridley's not coming back, is what I hear. And John Boyega isn't coming back either. But they're talking to Keira Knightley to do the motion capture and the voice of Rey.
Okay.
And then they're going to be exploring Rey's 2 children, a boy and a girl.
Who did she meet to have a boy and a girl with?
I don't know.
I don't know, dude.
They're trying to retcon the whole fiasco with the sequel trilogy. Because they're doing it with like all the lead up shows. They're trying to like. I heard something, and I think it was on. So I give proper credit to it. Is the guy off of Star Wars Theory? You know what I'm talking about? They got Star Wars.
So, maybe.
Star Wars Theory, Nerd Theory, Cobra Kai Theory. But he was mentioning that the some of the explanations that they're coming up with for Palpatine and Rey, that Lucasfilms is toying with the idea that he fused. How did they explain it? That Palpatine infused Kylo Ren's like spirit / essence with Rey, making her a true Skywalker. To retcon the whole Rise of Skywalker through line, and that way her kids, in particular her daughter Kira, is an actual Skywalker.
Huh.
That's what I'm hearing. Because I know that they're pushing Kathleen Kennedy to the side, and now literally Dave Filoni and John Favreau are taking over.
No, and I get that, you know, and for me it's like they missed the mark on so many things they could have done, because I mean, when they first did, what was it, Force Awakens, right?
Right.
With, you know, it basically mimicked A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was fine with that. And I was
okay, because I felt like poetry in motion. That's a George Lucas thing. He would have done that too.
Yep. So yeah, okay, cool. We transitioned to that, you know. But it's like, if you wanted to mimic like the original trilogy, right? You lost out on an opportunity where, you know, Luke Skywalker could have told Rey, you know, the whole line, "I am your father." You know?
That's true.
And that could have been shocking. I mean, not shocking. People probably would have expected it.
She could have been like, "My parents are nobody," and he would have been like, "No, Rey, I'm your father."
Your father. And that's what I'm trying to say. There was so much.
I'm your father, like my father was before me.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think Rogue One came out before Force Awakens, didn't it? Because it did. I mean, there was so much promise going into those.
No. I believe it came out after Force Awakens. I could be wrong.
Okay.
We got the Google's machine.
I'm gonna Google that.
Rogue
just,
Uno, 2016.
Yeah.
Force Awakens came out. (2015). So yeah, it came out after.
So it was a year prior.
Yeah. So it was definitely strange when Force Awakens came out. However, I thought there was a lot of hope and promise that they could have done something, but the problem was
they went dark with Rogue One, which was great, you know. You're like, oh, great, you know, we can't wait for the sequel after Force Awakens, and I'll tell you, I watched that, and that movie just, I think I was, you know, disappointed. You know, I'm gonna say I was definitely disappointed. Not as much as it was with like episode 1.
You mean with?
Yeah.
You're talking about with episode 8? I mean.
Yeah, it would be
episode 9 or
9.
Yeah, it'd be 8.
8.
Yeah. So you got the Force Awakens. Then you have the last one's the Rise of Skywalker. But what's the middle? What's 8? What can't I say what 8 is?
Jedi is what you're thinking about.
Huh? Oh.
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Yeah, so that was when they switched, then they got Rian Johnson on board, and Kathleen Kennedy basically said, "What do you want? What kind of Star Wars movie do you want to make?" Like in the middle of a trilogy.
Yeah.
It's like, hold the brakes, because like, if you're making what makes a trilogy is the through line, right? Otherwise it's just a sequel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just another sequel. if it doesn't connect to the trilogy.
Yeah.
In my view, like RoboCop 1, 2, and 3 aren't a trilogy. It's RoboCop 1,
sequels. Yeah.
RoboCop 2, RoboCop 3. But 4, 5, and 6 of Star Wars is a trilogy. 1, 2, and 3 is a trilogy.
3 are a trilogy, yep. And that's what I'm trying to get at. You know, you watch, Episode 8, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Last Jedi. And first off, this is the first time you hear about running out of fuel, okay, ever, in any of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, okay. So you find out, okay, you're going to run out of fuel. So these ships are starting to run out of fuel. And I'm like, okay. You have bombers in space as well. I'm like, why are we doing like 1940s type of bombing like in the opening scene?
In space.
You know, in space, which, okay, whatever. You know, I know when you go to movies, you're trying to disassociate from reality. You know, you want to get immersed into like, something, but like there's certain things that sometimes like you just don't comprehend. And then it's like all of a sudden you're gonna have Finn and the other actress, somehow magically disembark the ship to go to a planet to find Benicio del Toro's character they were into.
Yeah, him and Rose.
I have no.
It was the most odd side quest ever because, to be honest, it never worked.
It was so odd.
Remember, the whole mission hinged on that side quest.
Yeah.
They weren't going to be able to do it. But then they didn't complete it.
Yeah, and even that side mission was just weird in general because they fall into a parlor of gambling where people are, making money off of the New Republic or whatever and the Rebellion or whatever.
And selling weapons to everybody.
Yeah.
To the First Order and to the...
this political aspect or whatever, it didn't hit like a lot of like little Easter eggs like how Force Awakens did, like especially that scene where Han Solo approaches, where was it, where they meet the what's that lady with the big old eyes, I'm talking about, the glasses, who's holding...
Why can't I say her name? Ma?
Ma, it's Ma. I think you're right. Ma something, yeah. Point being is you can see all these different banners that are on there, and one of them is obviously those that Boba Fett had with the Mandalorians. It's got that whole little tusk-looking crest.
Right.
So when you watch Episode 8, The Last Jedi, you don't see any of that. You don't feel any of the connection to previous Star Wars. And I think people, I think some fans are like, oh, okay, we got to venture off away from the Skywalker, lineage and whatever. But if you're gonna have episodes that are gonna fall in line with the Skywalker line,
that's
you have to be able to tie. Yeah, you have to tie back into those Easter eggs that people are like, oh, I connect with that. I connect with that. To me, there was nothing that was really connected, in that episode. And I feel like there was so much that was missed between my favorite part of that entire movie was the connection between Rey and Luke, where he was training her. Like, to me,
correct.
I thought the film could have focused more around that. All the old books and the old way of the Jedi. You find out all about that, but instead we're finding about people who are making money off of selling X-wings to to the Resistance, but also selling weapons to the New Order.
The First Order, yeah.
So,
it's 3 movies.
First Order. It is.
It's 3 movies in one. And here's my honest opinion, and I was talking with Lindy about this, that my honest opinion of the new Star Wars trilogy is what I think Kathleen Kennedy and those involved made the mistake of believing that they could somehow reboot Star Wars. I think that the last trilogy the sequel trilogy, was an attempt, at least in the beginning until the end when they tried to fix it with The Rise of Skywalker, and then they still failed to fix it. But they were trying to reboot Star Wars to do their own film since they owned it. They were hoping they could have another trilogy after that goes off of their characters. Because it felt like that. That's why they were so reticent to just send these other characters off in such a unceremonious way, like Han dying when he did, and the way he did. Because even Mark Hamill's talked about it. He was like, wouldn't it have been more impactful if Luke and Leia, if they met up somehow and they were there when Ben stabbed him with the lightsaber It'd been a little bit more emotional than two people who just met him seeing him die.
Yeah.
And like, if you look back, I was looking back on all these clips. There was a compilation on YouTube. It's literally just titled "Mark Hamill Tried to Warn Us," and it's you could tell by the way he talks, his body language, and the stuff he's saying. And he even mentioned, like, one of the quotes that he was saying that really got me was, he said, you know, the way I saw Skywalker was old school, and I've got to kind of adapt to the way Rian Johnson, or Brian Johnson, whatever that guy's name is.
It's Rian Johnson.
I've got to adapt to his idea of Luke Skywalker. And in my opinion, I get where he's coming from as an actor or whatever, and he's trying to not be stuck in the mud type of guy, which I kind of respect. But at the same time, this is the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, it is.
And if we're gonna end it, we should be ending it on Luke. And yes, he was kind of a hero, but he was in the end of Force Awakens, and then he sacrifices himself via astral projection in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
We don't really get, and you could make the argument, yeah, okay, maybe killing him in that second movie was needed so that, I mean, if you would have at least made Rey an actual Skywalker.
Yeah, that's the one I'm trying to get.
Then maybe now you have a true through line as the Skywalker saga, because episodes 1 through 9 are not Luke, but the Skywalker saga. It's the Skywalker lineage. It's the through line trilogies to end that story. It's not the Palpatine saga.
Because she's a Palpatine.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of a cool idea if it was a different movie, like a different thing. Like a whole different movie, like they found the daughter of or the granddaughter of Palpatine somewhere.
Yep.
And they wasted John Boyega, Finn. He comes out as this really...
There was a lot of characters. I mean, big Carrie Fisher back in. And, Harrison Ford. And, you're not going to get Carrie Fisher back again, obviously.
No. Yeah. And so, like...
And I don't think Harrison Ford wants to do any more Star Wars, because I don't think he enjoyed doing the original ones to begin with anyways.
Yeah, he hesitated to come back in the 4, 5, and 6. They weren't sure if they were going to have him back. And that's why George didn't kill him. He put him in carbonite.
Carbonite.
Yeah. And so... And then when you do it like this, it's like... I just don't understand. But like I said, I really think it was an attempt to reboot. Because they were going to try to kill off all the characters. And they knew they couldn't exactly kill Luke off right away. But they knew they didn't have to have... They just didn't put him in the first movie. Luke,
I have no problem with the way of his passing. I just feel like that second film could have been focused around the development of Rey and Luke. And really learning about the old historic Jedi. Because it's something that a lot of people want to know about, eons past type of Jedi. So what happened, the evolution, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
She took those books. I mean, that's just left out there. She took
and what is that?
Jedi.
Everything from The Last Jedi was scrapped.
Yep.
Because they tried to piece together and fix what they messed up in that episode. So, Episode 9 is literally a patchwork job of trying to, get the fans back on board. They tried really hard because they were just like, okay, what do we got to do? What do we got to do? And I thought for what they messed up in Episode 8, I think Episode 9 did as good of a job as you probably were ever going to be able to do to fix that thing, except for the key part. I think if they wouldn't have made Rey a Palpatine, Episode 9 probably would have saved him.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But also at the same time, you got the through line where the bad guy, Kylo Ren, Snoke just kind of disappeared too. Like, he was this mysterious figure, and then next thing we know, he's just this thing.
And you know nothing about him. There's so many.
He did nothing. He was. It's kind of like they set him up to be the Palpatine of this trilogy. But then Kylo Ren just quickly takes him out. Then you get that same arc you got with Vader and Luke, because like how Luke saw good inside Vader and saw Anakin, and then at the end of Return of the Jedi, basically Anakin gets redeemed, takes his helmet off and all that stuff, and he throws Emperor Palpatine down that hole that doesn't kill you. And then and then
the Death Star explodes.
And then the Death Star also explodes into nothingness, so that a big, huge piece with his seat still in it can be there for Rey to find the map to the Sith planet.
Well, that's my thing. Like, even like
It's
episode 3,
silly.
and so as well as like 4, 5, 6, they did their best to fill in gaps. Like, you find out that
I'm sorry. One second. I have to say something. You can no longer, after pumping out what you did with 7, 8, 9, I don't want to hear anybody talk about 1, 2, and 3 again.
Oh, dude, it makes me happy.
The book is closed. I've always felt weird because I think I like 1, 2, and 3 a little better than most people do, or I appreciate it a little bit more.
Well, I definitely think that episode 3 by far is the best.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the story's there. I mean, there's pieces you can pick apart as far as like cheesy dialogue or weird filmmaking, or trying to push the technology to where it wasn't and using too much CG.
Yeah, I wasn't upset with that. I know that.
But we needed to know all the information.
That George Lucas, I think, wasn't good at. Okay, first off was Jar Jar Binks, and then killing off Darth Maul too quickly. All right. Yeah. But yeah, maybe he's not good at writing romance. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. But see, you got all the information you needed to know exactly why 4, 5, and 6 are the way they are. Yep. They could have put in some different information, but 1, 2, and 3, it shows that the Jedi they have a big, nice temple. The Republic is strong. They've got all these little things set in place. Maybe he could have came up with something better than a Trade Federation blockade, but you're still setting up these...
Oh, war started over some of the dumbest things.
Exactly, but you're setting up this... And I'm sorry, but Jar Jar Binks, he might have been corny, but it's a 90s thing. Think about the 90s. What came out of the 90s?
I know.
That movie is 90s. It's a 90s, 2000s. Well, it came off it was in the early 2000s, right? So, was it 99 the first one came out?
Let me go to my Google machine real quick and I can tell you.
But it was coming off of that era. It was being written during that era. And I feel like it was just very 90s-y. 90s, early 2000s-y.
99? Yeah.
Yeah, so 99, and you think he was probably writing it probably thinking about it for a few years before that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care about Jar Jar Binks. It's just, he paid it off and whatever it is.
But you can't tell me that doesn't fit with the Skywalker saga. It quite literally does. It pushes you in. You get to see Anakin. You get to see his progression. You get to see Obi. And then, but 7, 8, and 9 they're gone. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I do appreciate about, episodes 1 through 3 as well is, they talk about, midichlorians, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my god, how can you use it to define, Jedis,
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
It was only Qui-Gon that believed about the midichlorians, right?
For
so
sure,
he was trying to use science to basically answer the question of the Jedi, whereas the Jedi believe the Force is all tangible, okay?
Correct.
And it's funny because I think in Mandalorian, this season 2, I think there was reference to an M count. They talked about an M count somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah.
Which I think reverts back to the whole midichlorian count, is what I think they're trying to refer to. So it looks like, Moff Gideon's crew is focusing on the science aspect of it, looking at the M count, which, that opens up a whole new great thing of debate, because I do believe Qui-Gon was somebody who was more geared towards science, trying to prove the Jedi through science, whereas everybody else was more like, it's an intangible thing that we're all connected with it, and some are more sensitive to it than others, So...
Correct.
But that's what I appreciate. But then you look at 7, 8, 9, and there's nothing that just brings anything together. No, there's a lot more questions than there are answers. Where I feel like the prequels and the original trilogy answer a lot of questions because even
they answer every question pretty much. Even if it's not the right answer that you want, it still answers it.
You have Obi-Wan explain to Luke, hey, your father got corrupted by the dark side, and you come to find out the person who corrupted him was Palpatine, even in the original trilogy. You didn't need the prequels to know that.
Correct.
So, and that answered everything.
For sure, and it just showed you how it happened, how it all laid out, and you got a through line other than the time gap between 1 and 2. You understand it, and so you can pick apart and say, well, maybe I wish he would have done it this way or that way, but he still gave you the story. You still had the fall of the Jedi. Yeah, and there's so much, if you go through those movies over and over, you start seeing much more purposefulness and allegory and metaphors and all that stuff in there. And you realize there was a guy that did a really cool piece on the Duel of the Fates. I think that's the scene or the audio they used for the scene when Qui-Gon Jinn is fighting Darth Maul. And they talk about the reason why he's fighting so hard in that battle, and the reason why it's called the Duel of the Fates is because he knows that Qui-Gon Jinn was the reason why he wasn't on the Jedi Council, and it's explained in there by Obi-Wan, is that he doesn't necessarily go along with them at every step. He believes a little different. He probably believes you can date. He probably believes that there's some room for caring and lovingness in the Jedi Order and being a little bit different to where you're not letting these Republic people turn into Palpatines. And Qui-Gon, when it's all said and done, becomes kind of a bigger legend because you realize that he's the one that taught Yoda how to become a Force Ghost.
Yep.
That he shows Yoda as a Force Ghost how to be a Force Ghost. And so he becomes technically Yoda's master in a way. But when he's fighting Darth Maul, he inside him knows that what he saw in Anakin, that Anakin's going to need more of a fatherly guidance. And like I said, this was put out by another YouTuber who explained it this way.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so I'm not trying to take credit for this, but basically he's fighting for that because he knows that it's not going to go so well for Anakin if he doesn't win that battle.
Well, that's the thing. It's Anakin's fate could have been a lot different had Qui-Gon survived.
Exactly. And a lot of people believe that.
Instead, he gets raised by Obi-Wan, who didn't want him
in the beginning.
Anyways, but only takes him on because of the respect that he had for Qui-Gon.
The promise. And then they build a relationship, which, like you said, we were like brothers. They basically become brothers. They're not... It's not a father figure. It's not authority. I believe, if you want to go down a theory rabbit trail, that Qui-Gon Jinn would have been able to really recognize quickly that Palpatine was corrupting Anakin.
Yes.
And Anakin would have probably listened to Qui-Gon, and I'll bet you Qui-Gon finds a way to get his mother.
Do you believe it?
Which are, with Padme and the stress that was on that, and then his mother, when you think about it, those are the core things that made him moody and pissed off.
But wasn't there talk, and I don't know if it's just a rumor, that they wanted to scrap 7, 8, and 9 and say that they were their own separate entity?
That's been talked about.
And that way they could redo 7, 8, 9. And I guess if you did that, because it would be an alternate universe is what it was.
Yeah, that was the rumor, and then the latest thing I heard when I was looking online yesterday is their plan is with that animated series and then with all the television series that they're doing on Disney Plus to kind of lead up to 7, 8, and 9 and explain it better, to retcon it basically. So instead of scrapping it just to kind of put band-aids on it and give you some answers and explanations as to...
Most of the series that are coming out are going to be based on the timeline or time span of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and so the other thing too is because this is the problem I had with Star Wars is or with the new trilogy is kind of the same thing Mark Hamill was talking about. It's that he didn't understand why Luke, who was one of the most positive and he represented hope in Star Wars, coming off of basically freeing his father's damn soul.
Yeah.
that he would go down a path like this and just be like so distraught. Which, I mean, that could happen. I mean, we've seen people go to the dark side, so he could do that. But the explanation is going to have to be really a lot more than just, I couldn't save Ben from the dark side.
Yep. Because
the other thing, too, is if Luke is as powerful as we have all kind of believed him to have become by then, I don't know if he would be Palpatine powerful, but he would definitely be Snoke powerful and be able to sense that Snoke's going into Ben's mind and sense all that crap.
Well, and that's the thing that you're going to run into, because it's going to be curious to see, like, how everything's going to start tying in, because I think the whole Grogu scene being put onto the Rock of Scene, or whatever you want to call it, you know, and calling out to all the Jedi that are out in the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that would have reached Luke.
Yeah. A lot of people wonder about that, if it's going to be Luke or not.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Luke. I'm just saying, because unless it just misses.
So they're going to have to explain.
One receives it.
They're going to have to explain why Luke never
answered the call.
Like with Luke, they just did him wrong, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
They just did him wrong.
Like I said, you could have done a lot more. I think a lot more fans would have been like, oh, that's got to be Luke's daughter. That's got to be Luke's daughter. And then it turns out to be Luke's daughter. You know, but it's like, who was the mother? You know. But
for sure, and then you could have wondered why her mother was never around Luke anymore.
Yep.
But I was almost hoping that, which the time frame would be. Actually, it wouldn't be that difficult, because technically he could have been her grandfather.
Yeah. I guess.
I think it makes sense enough, because I think she's only like 20 or 19 or something.
Yeah.
I think the character of Rey is. But anyway, yeah, besides that point. But yeah, like with Mandalorian, I think that since Dave Filoni's at the helm, I think we're just going to see a lot of Rebels characters coming before we get core characters. Because I think they're going to want to really... they're going to be very, very cautious in any moves they make towards bringing Luke in.
Yeah.
To any of these series or into The Mandalorian, whatever it is.
I don't know if they're going to bring him in, though.
I have my doubts.
Does Mark Hamill even want to do?
He doesn't mind from what I've heard, but the problem is he's also open to a recast.
What, recasting his character?
For a younger Luke, yeah. Because the plan is...
But that didn't work out well for Solo, though, dude.
Yeah, but that's Solo. That was also a terribly done movie.
You know, the one thing I liked seeing in Rise of Skywalker is when they did the young Leia and the young Luke. That actually looked more realistic than...
The young Luke looked pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good, and that's one of the things they talked about, too, is that they might get Mark Hamill and then do the de-aging like they did in Captain Marvel for Samuel L. Jackson. And in the other Marvel movies, where like they did with Robert Redford and like they did with what's the Ant-Man guy actor? Not Paul Rudd, but the grown-up. What's his name?
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas. Kirk Douglas. Michael Douglas. One of those boys.
That is Michael Douglas.
Yeah, it is. They thought about that, but then everyone's like, well, you need to just cast Sebastian Stan and make him the young Skywalker.
Sebastian Stan, I have not heard of this guy.
That's the Winter Soldier.
Show me.
It's the Winter Soldier.
Oh.
But you gotta be careful when you look up the comparisons, because some people, they digitally overlaid Luke's face with his, so you're like, man, he looks identical! But then when you really look into it, it's because they overlaid his face. But he still looks similar. And if they played it right...
You could use him, right? Use his actor and try to do... Didn't you do like that deep face?
That's what I'm saying, is they can do a combination of Sebastian Stan and just do little tweaks. Because if he's close enough in the face shape and all that, then you've got less that you have to cover up.
I see it, I guess. Yeah, I can see it. I see this one here. Okay.
But if you bearded him up, You gave Luke a beard after this time has passed. Just give Luke a beard. Put a beard on Sebastian Stan. Give him a little bit. You got to kind of scar him a little bit. Not like a real scar.
Yeah, dude.
But like, because he got in that wreck and it made his face look weird.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did that just a little bit, and then made him wear like a hood a lot of the times, you're good. You're good. Make him walk around like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're good, man. You're just good. I don't know, they could do it, but I just don't...
Actually, we can get some power converters.
God, they should have had...
It's so crazy to listen to his voice from A New Hope.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, now it's like, wow, dude, your voice really like.
Or how
drastically.
much better he is at delivering lines.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's be honest. As great as New Hope is, and as great as Empire Strikes Back is, Mark Hamill was learning on the job a little bit.
That's fine, dude.
I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, but then he became one of the best voice actors ever because, you know, he's really famous for his Joker.
Yeah, I know he is.
And all that, so, like, you can't hate on Mark Hamill. He's done the deed.
I know. Hope not hate on him. Just
He's delivered.
To him from, like...
He's definitely delivered.
Like, A New Hope, and you watch, like, Grubhub commercials, like, dang, dude, your voice is like, ooh, night and day.
Well, there's one scene that's awkward to me. I think it's in A New Hope. Yeah, it's in A New Hope, because he's on Tatooine. And it's when he's looking at the two suns going down. And it's just, I don't know, he looks like he's awkwardly trying everything in his power not to look at the camera. It just feels like it to me. But there's a couple moments like that take me out of it, but it's still, like, man, those movies are just so good. And for the
yeah, they are.
And for the time, people sometimes forget that George Lucas had to literally invent every piece of technology in that movie. Other than puppetry and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But like to get the space flight looking the way it did, to get everything else like the speeder, all the stuff, like he was inventing stuff on the fly. They were on deadlines trying to still figure out how to do things. And how to catch stuff on film. And that's why you have ILM. And why they participated in damn near every movie after that.
Yeah.
That needed CG or some crazy stuff. And they helped, I think they helped, didn't ILM help with Jurassic Park?
I'm sure it did.
Because him and Spielberg are like boys, aren't they?
George Lucas, yeah.
Yeah, they're like boys. They tight. They
Spielberg,
tight.
yeah, because Indiana Jones has, you know, Lucasfilms on it, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I remember there was an interview with Kathleen Kennedy, and she was talking about that time when they were filming Indiana Jones, and how Steven Spielberg was primarily doing the directing, and that George Lucas was just sitting in the back as a producer. And she feels like that was the time when he started thinking about possibly doing 1, 2, and 3. Because he was getting kind of frustrated on set just watching someone else direct.
You want to know how much like boys they are? His daughter is named Michaela George Spielberg.
Oh. Yeah, they're kind of boys. Well, and then Spielberg gave him...
Yeah, especially if you're going to give your daughter the middle name of George.
Yeah, it's your daughter.
Yeah.
Come here, Georgie.
So.
Fix your ponytail, George.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I don't care, you know. But I'm just saying. That
Teach their own.
Close, yeah.
Waka Flocka Flames.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then you got the ETs in Star Wars canon.
Yeah. Oh, it's
ET race. It's episode 1.
The ET races in Star Wars. Oh, okay.
Is it 1 or 2? It's when they're talking in the Galactic Senate. They're one of the ones down there, in all those little pods.
No.
You don't remember that?
No, I'm looking now. Holy guacamole, dude.
Did I just blow your mind after?
Whoa.
20 years or some odd shit.
Like literally, it's just like.
Boom. E.T. could be,
Yeah.
but see, here's the theory that someone came up with a long time ago. After that came out, okay, since there are E.T. species in the George Lucas Star Wars universe, and in E.T. someone has a Yoda costume on, that means that universe. Yeah, in the movie E.T. when they're in Halloween and they dress E.T. up as a ghost,
Yeah.
they put the sheet over him. A kid runs by him and he's interested in the kid because he looks like Yoda, and he goes up to the kid like he recognizes him. Therefore, he can listen. E.T. can make the bike fly.
That's true. Oh yeah.
E.T. is strong with the Force. He knew Yoda.
Yeah, because he identified him. That's right.
He's like, ning, 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 ning. And the kid's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Dude, I need to take a minute. I'm like, okay.
You gotta let that soak in. It doesn't take much to reason.
Exists in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so it does not take much to assume
So we could have Jedi here.
that E.T. could be a Jedi.
Oh, E.T.'s a Jedi.
He made the bike fly. He made plants grow.
Maybe there's species can do that.
He fixed boobies, or boo-boos. Boobies.
Yeah.
He fixed the boobies.
The boobies, yeah.
He exhibits a lot of Force type stuff, and maybe he was trained by Yoda at one point. That's why he recognizes him. We need to know. So maybe our answer to a long time ago is 1980.
That is insane.
And then you could almost consider that possibly the ET species was petitioning the Galactic Senate to help them find their lost freaking compadre. Maybe they even once talked to Jar Jar Binks about it.
Yeah, possibly. Huh.
Misa not know this ET?
Wow. I'm just, woo.
Maybe he's a Sith. His hand did glow red. His belly did glow red. So maybe ET was a Sith.
See that?
And he got lost down there. Just saying, man. It's not a far-fetched...
There's an image here that shows a ET with a red lightsaber.
See? Misa told you.
That. Oh, yeah.
And apparently there is stuff inside the... I can't remember what it is, but there's something in Indiana Jones that harkens back to something George Lucas, and I can't remember. I don't know if it's Star Wars in particular. But they throw a lot of Easter eggs at each other.
Indiana Jones, Star Wars. Let's see.
Maybe that's actually Han.
No, it has something to do. Oh, and that's crazy. Okay, so in the temple, I think this one's going to be for the Holy Grail, the first Indiana Jones, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
On one of the pillars, it shows C-3PO pulling R2-D2 on one of the pillars.
No way. I didn't know it was that. So those are ancient hieroglyphs depicting...
That's exactly what it is.
So did they create a multiverse together before we really knew?
Yeah, I would say they did. I mean, granted, they were probably just doing it because they wanted to, like...
Yeah, for
add,
sure.
Things from...
But once it's
by doing so, they did open up...
Once it's in the movies, it's in the movies.
Yeah.
So, like, could you almost reasonably assume that maybe Earth is just that old, and some of the stuff that they were doing in Star Wars was actually on our Earth?
Yeah.
It wasn't a galaxy far away.
Far away, yeah.
It was the Milky Way, motherfucker. It was the Milky Way.
Huh. It was the Milky Way.
Star Wars takes place in the Milky Way galaxy, bitches. The Milky Way Galactic Senate.
Yeah, dude.
So, yeah.
Anyways, you just blew my mind.
I thought you knew some of this already.
Wow. No, dude. I mean,
Oh shit.
I wouldn't say like I'm like a Star Wars like hardcore like fan.
I'm not really either. I
I'd love to watch.
just
I'd love
listen
to watch
to.
anything Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, I know this by gospel.
No, I don't know the movies and the story by gospel, and I get characters wrong all the time. But what I'm saying is I used to watch a lot of theory videos on YouTube, and I just go down the rabbit trails, and eventually you find that stuff.
Find all this stuff.
Yeah, and I remember finding the ET stuff years ago. But yeah.
Let me see something real quick.
I think ET is a Jedi.
Now. It's like Willow. Let's do Willow.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that.
There's nothing.
Yeah, he kind of left that one alone then. He's like, eh.
Yeah, I was gonna.
It'd be just like, what's that movie? Oh, gosh. There's a movie George Lucas did right before Star Wars. With Harrison Ford.
Is there?
It's called... Why can't I say the movie? It's like a... I don't want to say it takes... I think it might take place in the 50s or 60s, and it's, American something, or... The frick? Oh gosh, can't remember. But Harrison Ford was in that movie, and then he wasn't acting after that, and that's why George Lucas hired him to do construction around his house. And then when he started doing the Star Wars reads, he had Harrison Ford come read for the other actors, so they had someone to read with, and then he liked them enough to say, well, do you want to be Han Solo?
Solo, gotcha.
I can't remember the name of the damn movie, though. Let's see. Harrison Ford, George Lucas movie before Star Wars. American Graffiti. So I was on the right track.
Yeah.
American Graffiti. I've never seen it, so I can't even talk about it, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that right before Star Wars. It's weird how some of these people back then, because you had... George Lucas did American Graffiti and then Star Wars. And then Robert Zemeckis, who is also really good friends with Steven Spielberg, did Romancing the Stone, and then did Back to the Future.
Gotcha, yeah.
And he did Romancing the Stone to prove to the studios he could make a movie. And then he used that capital to bring Back to the Future to it, plus a little Steven Spielberg wink wink nudge nudge to the studio. Because Steven Spielberg even with Back to the Future, Robert Zemeckis asked him, how's that time travel movie going? And it was like years ago, and he's like, you remember that? And he's like, yeah. And I don't know how much you know about that backstory, because like it was going to be a refrigerator. And do you know the only reason why the time travel vessel wasn't a refrigerator? Why it got changed? The studios were worried about it, because they thought kids would be putting themselves in refrigerators after they watched it.
Smart.
It is smart, but it's also smart for a few reasons, because it would not be as iconic if it was a fridge.
Oh yeah, dude, DeLorean, man.
There's no way that movie becomes iconic if it's a fridge. And they basically...
It's funny 'cause...
Yeah, to get Back to the Future, they were going to take the refrigerator to a nuclear test site and let it get hit with a bomb.
That's gonna do the car.
I'm a little happy that they sat on the script for years.
There's a DeLorean on the back of a semi.
I'm glad they sat on that script for a few years. Because can you imagine how much that would change pop culture? I don't see anybody collecting Back to the Future
Or the
refrigerators.
movie would not have been as successful.
No, it would have had one movie.
Yep.
No way it has a sequel. Maybe it has a sequel, but I doubt it. It wouldn't be iconic. And then
Yeah.
I just don't see people, a bunch of collectors, toting around a refrigerator from Back to the Future.
What's that? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to change the subject or anything, but apparently,
What you got?
I'm going to have to watch Indiana Jones now, because apparently there's an Easter egg where, in one of the movies, there's a club called Club Obi-Wan when a car drives around the corner.
What?
Yeah, it's called Club Obi-Wan.
Oh my good God.
Wow, yeah.
And you also think about that, remember Harrison Ford? There's that guy that he has a standoff with, and I think the guy, does he have a whip? But then Harrison Ford ends up just shooting him. Almost like,
yes, I know you're talking
almost
about
like the Guido standoff.
Yeah.
And who shot first?
Who shot first? Who do you think shot first?
Han.
I think so too.
Because I want it to be Han.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I see Han as the cowboy who's like, I know that you are going to probably kill me, so bye-bye. That's who Han Solo is to me. Han Solo to me is just like, he's not stupid, but he's scrappy, and
make mistakes.
he seems like the guy that always gets over. Like, no matter what situation you put him in, he's going to get over somehow. Which is another reason why I do not like the way his death happened. And I actually don't understand the big separation between Han and Leia.
Yeah.
That seems odd.
They explain that, like, he's responsible.
Yeah. I mean, I understand their explanation, but it still doesn't make sense that would occur. Just like it doesn't make sense. So there's a meme out there about Anakin killing younglings, killing Obi-Wan, beating the heck out of Luke, taking his hand, and then he's like, I still sense good in you. And then it shows a meme of him with his lightsaber over Ben's head saying, Ben had a dream. Luke with Anakin and Luke when Ben had a dream.
Remember when Luke said, though, he couldn't go through with it. He wasn't going to kill Ben.
Right, but
Ben woke up at the wrong time.
what brings Luke Skywalker to that point? And obviously they're going to try to explain it now, but what brings Luke Skywalker? Yeah, because see, I can't get over it. Because I don't see Luke being that. And even if you have Luke in despair, which I don't like either, but let's say you do put him in despair, because I feel like any character can be put in despair, otherwise they're a one-dimensional character. If you put him in despair, at least give him this a little bit better of an arc. Like, I feel like he should have showed up in Force Awakens before he did. Make it more of a Luke series where he's passing the torch somehow rather than, I'm going to go die and then now it's your turn.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier, is like, I felt like they could have definitely done that film. To me, the most entertaining part that I enjoyed the most of that film was the interaction
Luke and Rey.
Rey and Luke.
That should have been the movie focus.
Yep.
That should have been the focus of the movie.
Yes, the rebels try to get by on the skin of their teeth, but the side mission, and the only thing that came good out of side
and
mission,
then the O.J. Simpson space chase.
The Force.
That's the white Bronco in space. The slowest freaking chase in the galaxy.
The other important part of that episode, though, too, was at the end, or towards the end of like that side mission, is the kid who's a slave or whatever, who was able to use the Force to bring the broom to him. You know.
Yes, some people didn't like that, but I actually kind of liked that.
People didn't like that? I like that.
There's people I've been talking to, like, just around that are like, well, that was kind of, no, so anybody can be a Jedi? I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, anybody can end up with Force abilities.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, even though there was this mass kill-off of all those Jedi, some are born more sensitive than others.
Exactly.
And obviously, ultimately, you're not going to be able to kill all of them because people will be born that are more sensitive.
And the way I read into it, and the way that I've always taken it, I guess from my perspective, is that the Force is just always there. And some people are more attuned to it and can grasp it and use it and manipulate it.
Yep.
And some people either never learn about it or can't get attuned to it or whatever adverb you want to use. And maybe some people are just too corrupt to use it, but then they become cis or whatever. But like, I don't feel like it's something that's exclusive to certain people. It's just a matter of who becomes sensitive to it. It's like, okay, almost anybody could use the Force, but not everybody finds a way to use it. Not everybody feels it unless they're told about it. I feel like you can make, even if it's like a weak Jedi, even if the person using the Force is very weak in the Force, like if you were to just go to a random person, tell them about the Force, kind of show them how to connect with it, almost anybody can connect with it and maybe move a pencil or, do little things. And then there's just other people who are really sensitive to it who become very powerful. And that's another thing, what bugs me about Luke's lineage is he should be way more powerful than Snoke.
Yeah. What's the character from Rogue One? Was it Chiru? I forget his name. The blind guy, right?
Oh.
I always hold the back of my mind. I'm like, what if he was one of the younglings that survived
Order 66?
From the temple. He never fully got to use his powers.
Could be.
So he's sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Still being able to use the Force to fight,
Well, and they were there. Well, I don't know if he would be a youngling because wasn't him and the other guy, they were there guarding the Kyber crystals before the Jedi fell.
And why was he there at that temple specifically?
Maybe he was training at that temple.
On that planet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get.
So he still could have been a youngling.
Yeah. Because when did the mask kill off happen? Because Luke is 18 years old, right? We'll say in A New Hope.
We could assume that safely.
We'll safely say that all the Jedi were killed 20 years ago. Okay, right. If he was a youngling,
right, he'd be about.
Maybe he was 10, right?
Yeah, he can pull up. Yeah, he could be in his days. Yeah.
Or late 20s if you really want to make him younger,
And that one guy could have been the one that saved him. His partner, who I can't think of the name of. Yeah. So the big guy who looks like Gibraltar from Apex Legends. Saved him, but he got blind in the fight, as he was being struck down. And yeah, that could be very, very possible. But I do think there's a lot more Jedis out there, or a lot of Force sensitives out there, and we've got to realize that just because Order 66 happened doesn't mean.
Baze, by the way.
What's that?
Baze.
Yeah, so. You gotta assume that people were still being born and then end up being Force users because they're sensitive to the Force.
Exactly.
So there's other people out there. There's other Force possibilities. I mean, we have Grogu now.
Oh, yeah. Grogu.
Yeah, and some people were trying to call him Goku the other day on TikTok.
Oh, God.